Today I am celebrating Kate Bush and the incredible artistic contributions she's made to the last few decades. She is a British musician, one of the only women that really made a big impression on me during my teen years. I'm old enough and I was young enough to remember her on television in the late 70s and early 80s, writhing on the floor, dancing with very 80s flowing fabrics, and I seem to have a memory of big billowing curtains in the sunlight and her dancing and singing with this very peculiar high-pitched voice. And she was someone who, for example, my older brother, who was very rock-based in his tastes for a long time, still had a little window open for the songs of Kate Bush, and I think there's a lot of men that fit that kind of description, where she managed to reach into people whose tastes were otherwise very much dominated by masculine artists. So not only was she this incredible singer, very much with her own world, in a similar way to Björk perhaps, but she also was this dancer that gave people permission to express themselves in beautiful ways. She really inspired a whole generation of people to get dancing, and in a very free, flowing manner. Kate Bush also in recent years has made quite a comeback after a long time away, did a tour that deeply inspired fans I know of hers, who I never went to see the tour, and I'm not actually even that familiar with her music, but she made an impression on me as a female icon, especially through one of her songs in particular. And the reason that I want to give mention to Kate Bush is partly because of her song Cloud Busting. Now, Cloud Busting tells the story of Wilhelm Reich from the perspective of his son. Wilhelm Reich was one of the first people to attempt to control the weather, and developed devices and proved that he was able to avert storms and was able to guide the movements of the sky through the devices that he created. This seems especially pertinent to mention in these times of geoengineering. I've been waiting for enough sunlight to be able to record films, because even right now in the peak of summer, and despite all the weather forecasts, it has been dim and misty, dim and misty, dim and misty, and I can't help. And also we are seeing very, very few insects, very few bees and butterflies on the buddleia, which would normally be surrounded by clouds of circling butterflies. They are looking bare and sparse. And I can't help shaking the idea that this is probably to do with geoengineering, and not of the kind that Wilhelm Reich was developing, which was done without recourse to spraying the skies with heavy metals. It's funny talking about this now, because there are many times where to even talk about geoengineering as chemtrails would have identified somebody as a conspiracy theorist, whereas now it's just known that this is going on and this is geoengineering. It's amazing the hubris, the arrogance of humanity in our attempts to control the weather. And yet Wilhelm Reich wasn't doing it from this place of wanting to dominate nature. It was working with nature. And so I felt a great amount of affection for Kate Bush for having managed to take the story of a man like Wilhelm Reich, recount it in such a personal way, and then managed to get that in the charts as a pop song, as part of common culture, although despite the video showing a depiction of this story of Wilhelm Reich eventually getting arrested and his son watching him being taken away, she managed to get it into common culture without it even necessarily being realised what the song was about. I know that for the people who really do love Kate Bush, there are so many things which could be said about her work, and I'm not the person to do that, but I get the sense of the depth and the breadth of what she has shared through her music. And so I would like to join with all of Kate Bush's fans today to celebrate on her birthday the life and the contributions of this wonderful lady. Here's to Kate Bush.